Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We bring you the good,
the badass,
and the crime.
This is Like Mother, Like Murder.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Like Mother, Like Murder.
Bienvenido de madre de... I thought I was going to work on it, and then I totally forgot I was supposed to work on it. No, I can't remember what it was.
I felt like deja vu. I was like, no, you've already done this. And I was shocked.
I know, but
so
I was
again, I thought you were going to have it right. You're fired. Don't speak Spanish anymore.
Dang it.
Until you can come here with a full sentence, you are banned.
Yeah. Seriously. Here's my full sentence. Hola. Me gusta agua.
Okay. I thought you were totally going to say Taco Bell, and you didn't. You could have at least said Taco Bell. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the chaos.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
You can also like Taco Bell.
I mean, but I more than like it. You know this.
I do know
more
this.
than like the Taco Bell.
It's really sad that now, if you want Taco Bell, you need to make sure that you're going there with $20 for yourself.
I mean, legit. Okay, and you know the other thing I was literally thinking about the other day because I saw this commercial and it made me think of it? Remember when we were in high school and those KFC snackers came out? No. And it was just like this, oh my gosh, they were so good. And they were just like a little sandwich with literally just like one chicken tender in there. And for whatever reason, it was like, oh, these are the best. And they were only like $2. Yeah. Man.
What are they up to now? What's the point of this?
I don't even know if they have them anymore is what I'm saying. And if they do have them, I bet your ass they're not $2. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I think the only thing I've ever had from KFC is either the macaroni or the mashed potatoes. I don't eat there, and now I live in Kentucky, and I sound hilarious. So here we are. I wasn't raised on chicken, guys. So, I'm learning.
Tacos all the way.
Yeah, well, anytime she made chicken, I definitely didn't want it. Sorry, Terry. She's getting better. It's all right. All that HelloFresh has made her learn some things. How are you today, Heather?
I'm surviving. I'm on
struggle bus.
Day 6 of no kitchen sink.
Yes, that is crazy.
Good stuff. And with 2 children in the house, that is just like the worst. And like all of you don't realize how small all of the other sinks in your house are until you have to do dishes not in your kitchen sink.
You can't fill it with water instantly. It's overflowing. One dish is enough.
Like literally the entire counter is just like a puddle because it's all bad. It's all bad. But we'll put happy vibes into the universe for my kitchen sink. So,
is there an end in sight?
No.
Oh my gosh, day 6 and no end in sight? That's even worse. I'm so sorry. Heather's crying, you guys. I just made her cry.
And okay, let me PSA this out for everybody because I learned this. So the plumber came by. They looked at it. They even like stuck a camera down there. And then he was like, do you use Drano on your sink? And I was like, he actually said, how often do you use Drano on your sink? And I said, only when it's clogged. And he goes, well, there's your problem. And I was like, what do you mean there's my problem? Like, and he goes, so what Drano will do is it will literally just rust your pipe shut. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said something about the chemical reaction in the galvanized pipe. And then I was like, why in the fuck do they even sell it to clear a clog if it literally clogs it? And he goes, to sell more Drano and to keep guys like me in business. And I was like, okay, well, thank you, sir, for that.
And as soon as Heather told me that the other day, I instantly took it so much further and was like, that's why you can't put certain things in your body, because that's exactly what they're made for as well, because they want to make that money, and they don't care about your body, and they want you coming back.
It's true.
We are a drain.
I Guarantee it. And so I'm just like, this is so PSA. Don't use Drano on your sink, especially if you have galvanized pipes, whatever the heck that means. So
yeah, because we all know what pipes we have. What pipes you working with over there?
Apparently galvanized.
The next kitchen I walk into, I'm going to be like, do you know what kind of pipes you have? No? Let me see under it. Your sink. Just kidding. Just kidding. But thank you for shouting that out to people, because I'm sure so many other people do the exact same thing, thinking, I'm sure this is what I need to do. Yeah.
And I was like, and it's so funny because he said, like, rust the pipes together. And I was like, well, I feel like they should put that shit on the bottle.
Right? They probably do, just like every disclaimer at the end of like a health ad.
Yeah, except
the Drano ad has
small.
it too. Yeah.
Oh, God. It's underneath. You know how now you have to like peel underneath the label to like read all of it? Yeah.
And Drano is less expensive than a taco from Taco Bell, so it's even worse.
So, I mean, there you go. Should have just grabbed a Taco Bell taco, shoved it down there, probably would have cleared that shit right up.
Or clogged something else. Oh, man.
What are we even talking about? How are you today, my dear?
I'm good. I'm over here just, school's back in, and we are getting back into the hang of things, and that's pretty much it. I'm ready for an episode. I feel like this one I've known about, and it was only a matter of time, and here it is. So that's how I'm doing over here.
Love it.
We got some big things coming. There's announcements coming. So I guess that's the other thing, is there's so many things in the works right now, and that is exciting to us and hopefully exciting for you guys. So stay tuned for that.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so
I know. Much. The big smile. Can we shout someone out? Should we do it?
Let's please shout somebody out.
Who are we shouting out today, Heather?
I'm going to say that it starts with a K and ends with an Eiley, and she's pretty awesome. If I do
she is pretty awesome. Starts with a K, ends with an Eiley. That is the best, you guys. Today we need to shout out Primetime Crime with a K with the Eiley. Kylie is the host over there, and she does a phenomenal job bringing cold cases as well as some other much-needed cases to the listeners. Her research, her respect, and her professionalism over there is absolutely amazing, and you guys definitely need to check her out. And so we wanted to play her promo right here for you guys, so here it is.
Welcome to Primetime Crime Podcast. I am your host, Kylie, and in this podcast, we are going to deep dive into some lesser-known unsolved true crime cases, from missing persons to unsolved homicides. This is the place where we are going to unpack it all, research it all, talk about it all, and try to bring justice to these families after all of these years. We are going to take it one story at a time, one case at a time, and hopefully justice will be ours.
Today, I will be telling you the unsolved mysterious disappearance of Keirra Coles. Starting with a quote from the homicide detective on this case, Will Svillar. I think the last time we see Keirra, she is unfortunately not alive much longer after that. However, then stating, there's always a chance that she did go somewhere else. Keirra Coles has been missing since October 2nd, 2018. We are approaching the 6-year mark of her disappearance, which is 6 years too long. As I dive into this case, I want to be very frank and upfront about the fact that every missing person deserves to be found. Every missing person deserves an investigation, and that the effort, time, and commitment put into the fight to find the missing person is evident. Yes, many times officers, investigators, detectives have to stay tight-lipped with certain details to not hinder the investigation, but when a 26-year-old woman working a job she wanted, keeping up with her family and friends in a relationship of over 5 years, is also 3 months pregnant and excitedly shopping for her baby right before she is last seen or heard from, goes missing, to me, in my opinion, Keirra Coles should be a name everyone knows. Everyone should know her face. And the fire fueling this fight for justice and the investigation should be growing significantly, not dying out. So here we are to fan the flames as we bring you this week's episode about Keirra Coles. So we're going to start on the background of Keirra. Keirra Michelle Coles was one of 5 children to her mother, Karen Phillips. Her father was named Joseph Coles, and she was raised in this close, tight-knit family. Karen and Joseph didn't stay together, but she had a relationship with both parents, and her mother eventually remarried. When she's described by her family members, they say, as she was growing up, she was loud and in charge, and she was known in the family as Boss Lady Coles.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
To me, when reading about her, she sounds like she was just very out there, full of life, and had no problem being the center of attention. She's described as being the one with her hair done, nails done, and always looking good. She would do hair and makeup for friends for events. And when you see pictures of her when she's younger, her teenage years and into her 20s, you can just see how much there was to her. So full of life and so full of personality. Early in her 20s, she was working different jobs to make ends meet. One of those jobs being a part-time position with the United States Postal Service. Family and friends talk about this job for Keirra and how much she loved it. She started working that part-time position in 2015, and she loved delivering her route and what she did for the post office. And she wanted a full-time position there. And after 3 years, she got that. And for all accounts, she was so thrilled, and things were looking very good for Keirra. I also loved my post office job when I first started.
I was just gonna say, I feel like you could have stuck Rachel in that last couple of, and it would have made sense because you started as well, kind of like not part time, right? But like you didn't have like the full time.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that's kind of like what it was for her too.
Yeah.
Like CCA, you're not, when you're a CCA, you're not a full time carrier yet.
Right.
And so that's how I see it. And it did. It took me nearly 3 years to become a full time position as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
So at this time in her life, when she gets this full time letter carrier job, she was in her mid 20s. She had this good, reliable job. She was in a relationship that she had been in for years with a man named Josh Simmons. She had just gotten a car, and she was newly pregnant, which is something that she really wanted in life. Josh Simmons, her boyfriend, also worked for the Postal Service. And we're going to talk about him more in a little bit, but I want to get into the time frame leading up to October 2nd, when Keirra was last seen. October 1st and 2nd, Keirra Coles had the day off from work at the post office. October 2nd is the day that Keirra had an appointment of some sort, possibly a WIC appointment. That's what it says in some sources, but I don't know how to verify that. And whatever appointment it was, she went with her aunt. Later in the day, she went shopping for some groceries and was on the phone with her mom and was talking about the healthy things that she needed to buy, you know, as well as things that she was going to have to buy for the baby when the time comes. And it was just overall a good conversation with her mom. And they end up hanging up, not knowing that that would be the last time Karen gets to talk to her baby girl. October 3rd, Karen tries calling Keirra to remind her to bring enough water for work because it was going to be very hot outside. And if you're working those delivery routes, you need to make sure you have enough water, that's for sure. And so she was just looking out for Keirra, but no answer. This is definitely alarming for someone who was known to be on her phone a lot and would always answer the texts or the calls. She was someone who was constantly on Snapchat or Instagram, messengers, whatever it was, and it was completely inactive that day. Throughout the day, Karen tries getting a hold of her, as well as other family members, and nothing. And this was alarming. You know, some calls went through, and then some just rang and rang and rang, and then others would ring and then go to voicemail.
Okay.
Karen thought maybe her phone had died, and that she just needed to charge it, and that she would get back to her later, but that never came. October 4th is when Karen still hadn't heard from Keirra, so she calls the police to do a welfare check at Keirra's apartment. since she hadn't heard from her. They had contacted Josh to see if he could let them into the apartment because Keirra had told her mom that she had given Josh a key to the apartment, but he's telling them that he was never given a key. He doesn't have a key to the apartment. And so Karen's thing was like, she was pretty certain, actually, she was very adamant that Keirra did tell her that she had given him a key. So where was it? Where was this key? Either way, police get in. They don't find Keirra. The TV was on in the apartment. The groceries that she was shopping for the night before were put away. So it was just odd because it seemed like someone should be there, but she wasn't. No one was there. So Karen ends up reporting her daughter Keirra missing on that day, October 4th, with the police. So here we have missing Keirra. We have a family who is worried and working with the authorities immediately, wondering how to help, what to do, starting to search, and everyone starts searching for their daughter, their sister, their friend. But I bet you can guess who wasn't searching.
The fucking boyfriend.
The fucking boyfriend, Josh Simmons. Josh not searching doesn't make him guilty. Everything I'm about... Go ahead, say it.
Okay, it doesn't make him guilty of... Maybe, okay, it doesn't make him automatically guilty of murder, but it kind of does make him guilty of being an asshole. If
I
you
agree,
know,
100% guilty of being an asshole.
Yeah, come on. And we'll see what else you're
100%.
guilty of.
And they don't know as of right now. So there can be no guilty of murder without knowing where she is at this point. It's so early on. There's things that they definitely don't know yet. But even that early, if you're going to make the choice to not help and search for your girlfriend who is pregnant, assumingly with your child.
With your child,
it really, really doesn't look good.
And
right?
it's like
but
second red flag because you already lied about not being able to let people into her apartment.
Right.
And now you're not searching for her. So.
And the red flags keep waving because he's just a walking red flag. But there's so much more to this story that I need to bring to your attention before we move forward with the investigation and the search. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Josh and who he was. So we know he was with Keirra. She was pregnant. She just got an apartment. Like I said, Keirra's mom was adamant that he had a key. They were together. Josh had an older daughter at this time as well. He was the sole parent of. I'm not sure of her age 100%, possibly around 9 years old, but him and the mom didn't work out and she left. She was out of the picture completely, and he was the sole guardian of this daughter, okay? Josh was also in another relationship with another girl named Keirra. Keirra and Josh had been together for a while. She actually had helped raise his first daughter, and Keirra and Josh had another daughter together at this point as well.
So at this point, he has 3 baby mamas.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And so, and that's the thing is, I know plenty of people that do, but I don't know plenty of people that are douchebags like this guy. Anyways, as much, I should say. Some of them are. Keirra and Keirra actually knew about each other. And what I want to say right now is that this wasn't a happy polyamorous relationship or a sister wives type deal, right? Yeah. Because if it was something that they all agreed upon and that's the life you're living, power to you. Do your thing.
Right.
Okay? They did know about each other. They did know the other was in the picture. They did know Josh was either dating both or bouncing back and forth. So this wasn't a hidden life or someone leading a secret life. This was out there. Now, just because they knew each other and all of that, it doesn't mean they were one big happy family. I think there was a time that they would be around each other and all of that, but at the time of the disappearance, it comes out that Keirra wasn't welcome in Kiara's home. And so they had some sort of altercation with each other that had let the tension grow into a no, we're not hanging out or being around each other type situation. Which, I mean, in my head makes perfect sense right there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's one of those things where we don't know their life. The fact that they were okay with it in whatever regards for however long is one thing. But at this point, they were no longer like that. It was to the point where they no longer were on speaking, being around each other, those kind of terms.
Now, okay, so when you say, like, they know about each other, like, so he is openly saying, like, look, I have Keirra, my baby mama. She helps me raise my daughter by my first baby mama and our daughter together. Like, we are together, but they're not living together.
So...
Because seemingly, like, he has another place he's at. Because
from everything that I could find and understand, he primarily lived with Keirra.
Okay.
And would stay and go live on and off with Keirra. But when I say that it was something, Kiera's mom and their family knew about Keirra and knew that he was someone that was in a relationship with both at these times. So it wasn't something that was hidden.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to let you process, but I didn't know if you needed more time.
No, I'm ready.
Okay. So another thing I will add is that Josh also worked for the post office.
Mm-hmm.
And so did Keirra. So I'm not sure if they were all in this same office and it was one big wild situation. Honestly,
Rachel,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Why is this like, okay, so I feel like now I'm remembering that little snippet of information because it's just making me think of your post office days and all of the like.
Yeah. You guys, my time at the post office and the things that I could talk about, we're not getting into. That's an entirely different podcast in itself. But yeah, these three, Keirra, Keirra, and Josh, were all postal workers. And the last thing I want to add before I get back into the beginning of this investigation is that Keirra was newly pregnant as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's just, I don't understand it.
No.
I
mean, you live your life however you want to live your life, and if everybody is, like you said, if everyone's okay with it, cool beans. Like, you know, maybe this is like a Nick Cannon type situation, but sorry, Nick Cannon, you know,
I'm not.
You know what you are, but now they're at a point where the baby mamas aren't okay with each other, like, and so then that just, you know, that's troublesome.
It is troublesome, especially with what we're talking about right now.
Exactly.
So there was a time that things were okay, supposedly, whether,
things
you know,
start
and
going
none
bad.
of us know every single detail.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
then things
you're
go
right.
bad, and then now Keirra is missing. So
Correct.
don't like it.
Don't like it. So Kiera's mom, Karen, we're back to the investigation now, okay? That's kind of the update on Josh and all things, what the hell. Kiera's mom, Karen, filed the missing persons report on October 4th, and now it was time for them to find Keirra. Her biological father ended up quitting his job and coming out to Chicago and pretty much staying in his car or locally to help search for his daughter. He was known to stay in the apartment complex parking lot and just kind of talk to whoever was there and pass out anything he could to try to bring more awareness and get his daughter's name out there. Asking anyone he could, you know, anyone he could talk to at Keirra's apartment complex. those kind of things. But
see, this is a father, like, when this father quits his job, comes and is sleeping out of his car in her apartment complex just to question people and see if they know anything. That is what that is the expectation right there. That is a dad who cares. And then you have someone like Josh, who also has a baby who is now missing, like an unborn child who is missing, let alone his baby mama, but like also his unborn child missing. And he isn't even helping with the search.
Right. Yeah, it's not okay. That's for sure. At this point, early on, her disappearance was hitting the local news pretty quickly, but no one had heard from her. No one had seen her, and things they were finding made it even harder. Mm-hmm. So her car was in the parking lot of her apartment complex, and they found that very early on. It wasn't parked where she would normally park, though. And that could be a whole slew of things, from someone was parked in her spot to people thinking that maybe someone else was driving and parked it somewhere else, you know. But they found it weird because she always parked in her spot. And there's so many apartment complexes that they assign you your spot, right? And it's yours. Yeah. But either way, they find the car, and then when they were able to get a locksmith to come out and get the car doors open, they found these items in the car. Her purse, no wallet, her cell phone, prenatals, and her lunch for work. So she had her, like, lunch bag packed with, I forget exactly, but an orange and maybe an apple in there with her waters. And yeah, so to me, it's so weird because these items make me think this was the last place that she had to have been, right? That she was getting in her car to go to work. But that's not what happens. They call the post office, and the post office, I'm not sure who, but they tell her mom that Keirra had taken personal days on the 1st and 2nd, which her mom already knew.
Right.
And that she called out sick on the 3rd. So,
but if she called out, why is her lunch in the car?
Right.
Like, why is all her stuff in the car ready to go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did she get sick,
really
like,
does make
in the car? Like, what's going on?
I've been there. I've been there.
I mean, you're newly pregnant. You get in the car. You go to try to drive, and you're like, no.
Right. You also work for the post office, so you just get sick of that shit real quick, and you just call out.
Did they check her phone? Did they see whether or not, like, she had actually called the post office?
So, to this day, they still have not been able to get into her phone. But I will tell you, so the post office, I don't think I have this in here, but for someone who has worked at the post office, I can explain it, that the line that you call when you are going to call in, you can call and talk to someone, but they have an automated line that you call and you press numbers, and you have to use, you can type in the numbers for certain things, but there are times that they say, like, are you calling in sick? Are you calling in, is it gosh, my brain is not working. My brain is not braining. Whether it's a sick or an...
It's because you've blocked it out, because it got to be
totally
so
have.
freaking traumatic.
I know. I'm like, I hate this place so much. Even, like, looking into this, and at the end I talk about the postal inspectors and stuff.
Don't like it.
So when you call this number to call in, which I had done numerous times in my life, so I know, you are being asked questions. And when you get to a certain thing, they ask you whether it's going to be sick leave, unpaid leave, emergency leave, those things. And those you're actually verbalizing. You're saying them out loud. Okay. And so they would hear,
right?
You know, they would hear a voice. And whoever was the one that was talking to Karen said that it was her who called in. Whether they knew that for a fact, or they just said it based on the number, the 900 number that you type when you from your badge, that's like your employee ID. I don't know.
Okay.
But they said it was her. Okay. Then a neighbor at the apartment comes forward with a video. she says that she has footage of Keirra on October 3rd walking from the apartment in her postal uniform. If you look up Keirra Coles on the internet, this video is mainly what you will find. This video that the neighbor, where when she called, she said Keirra was walking in her uniform on that morning. And so the theories began that maybe someone picked her up to give her a ride. Maybe she stopped to talk to someone. Maybe someone pulled up and asked a question and then took her unwillingly. And so this video circulates for a long time, putting Keirra as last being seen on October 3rd, that morning, just walking to work. But it's weird. When in her car was her purse, her phone, her, I'm assuming, satchel for work, her lunch for work. These are things that you need as a postal carrier. You can't go there without your satchel. It has to be on your body 24/7. So you're not going to be picked up and go to work in your uniform without those things.
Right.
And the other thing that's odd is whoever was talked to on the phone that day, remember, said that she called out on the 3rd. So if she called out on the 3rd, what is she doing walking to go to work, right? So now it's been a little time. Karen goes to the investigators and lets them know that this video that was turned in and saying that it was her daughter that was last seen on this specific date on October 3rd, that's not her daughter. That's not Keirra. And the investigators let her know that they already knew that. So in this video, this woman who I guess closely resembled Keirra apparently showed the woman walking and then turning back because she forgot something, and they could see that it was definitely not her.
Right.
But they told Karen to kind of sit quiet on it, don't say anything, because they were using this video in hopes to get more leads or to throw certain people off in some way in hopes to find Keirra.
Right.
And as a mom, your only wish and your only concern at this point is bringing your baby home.
Yeah.
And so she listened.
Yeah.
Right? Like at this point, this is what she's doing.
When an investigator says, like, we're doing this, for the good of the investigation. Like, it's like those times where it's like, this is something we found, but don't tell anybody because it's like the guilty knowledge will help us find the actual criminal type of thing. So you're going to trust the people who you're supposed to trust to help find your kid. Yeah.
And I do want to believe 100% that this is exactly what they were doing. So I feel like there's a part in your voice which sounds, condescending in a way because we've seen it fucked up so many times.
Yes!
And I understand where you're coming from, but in that moment, like, that's what you want to do. You want to believe that that's what's happening, and you want to feel like they are doing every single thing in their power to find your child. And so she listened for about 2 years without coming forward about this video because she wanted to trust the process. But that's too much time gone.
Yeah.
And that time gone messes with the timeline as well, right? So if people think that she was last seen on the 3rd, maybe something they saw or heard or witnessed on the 2nd becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right? And I hope, this isn't how people would think, but we always say if you see something, say something, no matter how small you think it is, or if you think that it may be irrelevant, whatever. You don't know. You do not know. It could be the exact missing piece to this puzzle. So, anyways, in interviews later, she says law enforcement told her to not say anything, so she didn't. But she's over it. And now she is just speaking the truth and continues to fight to try to find her daughter. Which, I'm so sad to say this, that the Chicago Police Department put the case to the side. They didn't deem it a cold case. They just labeled it suspended, inactive. And so nothing is really happening on their end when it comes to looking or trying to find Keirra, or trying to find who would be responsible for her disappearance as well. As well as her child's.
Yeah. That's what's so friggin' frustrating because, like, when they do that, when they leave it in this, like, limbo, and it's not, like, actively assigned, because now it's not assigned to a cold case unit. It's not being actively worked on by, regular investigation. So it's just in this limbo where you don't, like, it's just untouched. Ugh.
It is the worst.
Like,
it is. It's just, it blows my mind. It's bizarre. And I hate it. That's all there is to say about it. So she was 3 months pregnant at this time. So as of right now, if she ran away and was out there somewhere, her child would be 6 years old or something around that. But there's been no sightings, no anything. And that doesn't give me a lot of hope that her and her baby are okay.
Yeah.
I know I went a little out of order just now, but we're not done, right? So I need to talk about the actual last video that is out there of Keirra Coles, because that did surface in time. And what's on it is something that continues to make me question everything. So Tuesday, October 2nd, there's a couple videos. And we know that the 3rd is when Karen could no longer get a hold of her daughter.
Right.
So timeline-wise, these are the last known sightings of Keirra that are actually out there as of now. This first video is from the apartment from another neighbor that shows Keirra and Josh leaving the apartment together in her car. Then, the other video shows Keirra going into a Walgreens on her own. She withdraws $400, and then she walks out of the store. She gives the money to Josh, who then proceeds to get into a different vehicle before driving off. And Keirra does leave that store in her own car on her own. But this just drives me bonkers. Like, it just blows my mind that this chain of events, these things happen, and yet we still have no answers.
Right.
I know that we have, I should say, I want to believe the fact that we don't have concrete evidence and that kind of a thing. But there's a lot of things that lead to the possibility of saying someone allegedly did something right here.
Yeah.
And
or at the very least, someone is involved.
Right.
And yes. Well, and the other thing that's so annoying about this is, like, the timeline is pretty tight. Like, it's not like this like she wasn't spotted for like 4 days before someone reported her missing. No. Like, that happened on the 2nd. By the morning of October 3rd, she's not she's not responding to her mom. So.
Yeah, and when you read it deep dive, because so the 2nd is when she's seen, and it's late at night. I want to say it's like 10 or 11 when she's at this Walgreens. She gives this money. But then that next morning, and then supposedly this call out, which, like I said, I'm not able to confirm whether or not the voice activated call out, whatever. But Josh and Keirra both work for the post office. This is something that they're aware of how to do it as well. And so someone's voice could have been on there. And I don't know. I'm not saying she's involved in which way or another. She could absolutely not have anything to do with this. He could possibly not have anything to do with this. I don't believe that. But there's a possibility, right? And so the point I'm trying to make is we don't know if that was her voice on the 3rd.
Right.
So there's that. They have this, but they've not been able to prove that Josh had anything to do with this. Other people have also questioned Keirra, like I was saying, whether she had anything to do with it. But there's nothing concrete either way. And then the two, this is a part that blows my mind as well. The two eventually quit their jobs at the post office and move out of state to Louisiana together. And I know, I didn't talk about this in detail, okay? But they did. They questioned Josh. They questioned him about his, what alibi he had that night or what he was doing and this, and that. And his statements always change and they don't add up. But still nothing. So now we have a family who is fighting for answers still, trying to find their daughter still. And it's going on 6 years in October that Keirra has been missing. And we need to make sure that we don't get quiet about it We don't stop saying her name or sharing her photo. She needs to be found. She deserves to be found. Her family needs to know what happened, and I strongly believe in my heart she didn't just take off.
No, absolutely not. She didn't.
Because it's one of the theories that, you know, she just up and left for whatever reason.
Theory. I hate when people bring up that theory because if we know that she had a tight-knit family, we know that she had just landed her full-time job, which is what she had been working towards. We know that she was pregnant, which was also something that she wanted. She had just gotten a car. She had just gotten an apartment. And, like, I know things happen. People's mental, you know, like, status can change very quickly. But it's like, there's too much pointing to the fact that something not good happened, leaving her phone in her car, leaving all the other stuff that, like, you know, then all the suspicious shit, taking $400 out and handing it to your boyfriend who then gets in another car. All of that is too suspicious to believe that at that same time she was also planning on just up and leaving. Why would she give the money to her boyfriend if she was about to run away?
If she was about to leave, she needs that money.
I'm keeping that $400 for myself. Exactly.
Right.
So there's just too much showing that it was something that was out of her control. Right? That this was not something, and I hate when people just, like, use that, like, oh, she's a full-grown woman, she could have made the decision to run away. Like, no, she didn't. You're just copping out and making, like, excuses for the fact that this should have been solved 6 fucking years ago.
Well, and it's so sad that doing this Momcast and doing this podcast, you find out, and it's one of the hardest truths, that homicide is the number one reason of death in pregnant women. And that kills me.
Yeah.
That breaks me. And so for anyone to, I mean, I would love to believe that. I would love to think that theory that she took off and she's okay and she's doing her own thing with her baby somewhere for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That she made this choice to say bye to her family and never have that moment again, to do what she needed to do for this child. I would love to believe that, but it is hard to believe that.
Yeah, statistics
for every other thing that we see.
To that.
Yes.
No.
So, the same month that she was reported missing, the detectives come forward with a statement and say that foul play was suspected. So, therefore, the fact that they say that, and then they suspend this investigation.
Trash.
They put it aside. They completely give up in this moment. And my thing is like, yeah, okay, maybe you haven't found anything. Maybe there haven't been the leads you're looking for. Maybe there hasn't been the answers you're looking for as of right now. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Okay?
You can't suspend it. Like, that's not... You can't put it into that middle pile where it's just like, because then
overlooked.
When you, like, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's overlooked. Like, when people, you know, look up, like, you know, cold cases, they're not going to see her name because you put it in this middle, and it's like, fucking stop it.
I do think it's a beautiful thing that podcasters aren't being quiet about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are saying Keirra Coles' name and talking about her. And hopefully that continues to be kind of the driving force. As I don't even want to say it like that, but her family will continue to help that, you know, never,
get the word out there.
Never stop.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I first heard about this case when Liam covered it on Crime Over Wine. And I was just like, and that was, I mean, he covered it like probably over a year ago now, and it's just like the fact that there's still
I know. Now, for something that maybe not everyone knows, the United States Postal Service has a postal inspector. They have a full United States Postal Investigation Service. Okay, these individuals go to school, they take courses, all of the things in crime and law and all of that. Okay, that could be its own episode, you guys. But the point is, they teamed up with law enforcement in the beginning I wonder if they're still a part of it whatsoever. I'm not 100% sure. I also wonder if I could apply there and get a job. But USPS put up in the beginning a reward of $25,000 for Keirra. And I think it grew to more than $30,000 from them. Mm-hmm. That was early on. Now, nearly 6 years later, you'll see a reward anywhere between $50,000 and almost $70,000 that has been raised by the family in support with USPS and by supporters in attempts to find answers to bring Keirra home. So if you're listening to this in Chicago, in the Chicago area, or literally anywhere, Louisiana, and if you know something, it's time for you to come forward and say something. Even if you think it's too small. Something you remember that Keirra said in the days leading. Something that you witnessed while out at your local Walgreens on October 2nd. These things matter. And one thing I'll say, again, this is a personal little detail I'll add in here. A lot of those carriers are on the phone a lot while they're out there talking. Was there something that was said in the week leading up that could say, look, I had this conversation with her and now it's clicking. Now it's something that, you know what? It does seem off. Maybe, who knows? Maybe you don't want to be involved because you think maybe something could fall back on me because I didn't say it in the beginning. This is your time to freaking speak up, you guys. It matters, and they matter so much when it comes to finding loved ones. And holding on to something or keeping information that could possibly bring someone home to their family is awful. It's awful. Right. Do the right thing and come forward. Keirra Coles was 26 years old when she was reported missing October 4th, 2018. She was an African-American woman. She was 3 months pregnant, brown hair, a big, beautiful smile, 5'4", and about 120 pounds. If you have any information that could bring Keirra Coles home, please contact Chicago Police Department at 312-747-5789 or the United States Postal Inspection Service 877-876-2455. I want to see answers in this case. I want to see her found. I want to see whoever's responsible for this be held accountable. I want to see her family be able to rest knowing that they did every single thing that they could for their baby.
Yeah.
And that's,
we need to talk about answers. And it's crap that, like, you know, the cops were like, oh, okay. Because at a certain point, like, if they don't have any more leads and they don't have, you know, this, that, why not make sure that the world knows, like, okay, that was not her on October 3rd. Like, that, you know, that was a mistaken, that was another postal worker, resembled her, blah, blah, blah. Like, at a certain point, you're no longer helping the investigation by keeping this close to the chest. You're hurting it. And so, like, they need to understand that, like, it's so frustrating. And you just feel so upset for Karen, and the idea that, like, okay, like, I held on to that information because you told me that would help the case, but people need to know, like, we don't want misinformation out there regarding my daughter's last whereabouts, because then, like you said, like, people could just, like, not even think about, like, and I have so many questions, because it's like, who picked up the boyfriend in the other car? Or did, like, he just get into another car? Like, where's that car? Was that his car? Like, and then also it's like, so she had all of this stuff in the car the next morning as if she was getting ready to go to work. And if she truly did call in sick from work, how many times, Rachel, did you call in sick from work and the only people, or the only person who knew you were calling in was the telephone system? Because I know for sure it's like, you call into work and then you tell whoever you need to tell. Maybe you even tell them first, but usually you're texting your coworker or your friend at work and you're saying, I'm calling in today. Today's not the day. Right? So, like, if nobody else got a message from her, that makes it even more suspicious to me. Like,
absolutely.
The idea that, like, there's just too many questions, and it's hard to think that, like, there's literal video evidence of her hours, if not minutes, but, you know, before she is, we still don't know more than what, like, it's bullshit.
I agree. And I think that those, to me, and this is just the theory that I have, is she didn't pack that food. She didn't pack that lunch. She didn't put those things in her car. She didn't make that phone call because she already wasn't responding to her mom early in that day. You know, it's like things were already happening in my mind and how I see it, because
the minute she goes into a Walgreens and pulls $400 out to give to her boyfriend and then he hops in another car, that is right there. I don't like that at all. Yeah, absolutely. It breaks my heart for her family, all of it. And the majority of people we talk about here on, like, Mother Lake Murder break my heart, but I'm sick of it. Like, I'm freaking sick of it. And the way that we were talking about cases being suspended or put into this pile, like, I know for a fact there's a uprising of people who would volunteer their time to look into certain things, and there's already people, not even people that would, there are already people who do that. So change that pile into instead of a suspended inactive, put it into the, what is it called, the keyboard, not a keyboard warrior, my brain's not working, stay-at-home detective type thing, you know? And there's all these people who would love to try to be of assistance or be of help in any which way. To figure something out. And the annoying thing is there is a lot of police departments, especially I would assume in a place as large as the Chicago area, where they have a specific, like, cold case unit, or they have people
100%.
that are specifically assigned to cold cases. And so by not labeling it a cold case and just suspending it or whatever, you're running the risk. You're not running the risk. It is. You're making it to where it's harder for her case to get worked on because you're not putting it, like, and so it's just.
And if there's something that you guys know about this pile that we don't know, like, if I'm completely reading this wrong and this pile is not exactly what I'm explaining it as, please let me know, because I would love to be informed and educated in this area as well. But it's just, it needs to, what it comes down to is it can't be pushed aside. That's all there is to it. It's unacceptable.
Well, and it's so interesting because it's making me think of is this other podcast, true crime podcast, where it's called Undetermined. And I don't know if you've listened to it yet, but the idea is that it started with a case where basically when the autopsy happened, the cause of death was left as undetermined, which meant it was not seen as a homicide, which meant the homicide, investigators were not looking at it, and therefore, and then because the homicide investigators weren't looking at it, and the body, it's trash, because then the family couldn't even take the body home because it was undetermined. And they were like, well, do we know? It was just, it turned into this administrative clusterfuck that resulted in not only a case not being actively investigated when clearly something foul play happened, and on top of that, the family couldn't even get any other type of closure because the morgue wouldn't release the body. And so it was just this complete cluster where it's just this administrative bullshit that just hurts everybody. And so, like you said, maybe we could be wrong about this limbo where it's not labeled an active investigation, where it's not labeled a cold case. But either way, it's like it's hurting it. It's hurting it. So that's what it makes me think of. And it's just like, I hate when it's kind of the same thing where you look at this and you're like, well, obviously there's someone responsible. And like, it can't be that hard to fucking look at it.
That's how I see it. But, and to even add to what you're saying about that pile and about how that works is, and I don't find it okay, so I'm not saying it this way, but if you thought she was a runaway, and you're like, she's older, she's a grown-ass woman, and this is the choice she made, but your detectives, your investigators, your whoever in this department claimed it foul play. Right. So how do you then sit back? Yeah. Because don't you want this to not happen to anyone else? I would. That's how I would see it.
Yeah.
So that's it, you guys. That's what we have on Keirra Coles. It's very heartbreaking. It's emotional. It hurts. It's painful. All of these things. But we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. We got to say her name. We got to share her picture. And we need to make sure that her file moves from one pile to another.
100%.
Yep. That it is. That it is, guys. All right. We freaking love you and hope that you guys are taking care of yourselves. The seasons are a-changing. Make sure you're drinking your bone broth and doing what you need to do to take care of yourselves. Don't use Drano. Definitely don't use Drano.
Definitely stay away from that. Yeah, stay away from that.
And other than that, just you see something, say something. That's it. There it is. All right, we will talk to you guys next week. Okay, love you. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye. Thank you all for listening. If you are enjoying the show, please consider leaving a 5-star rating and or review wherever you're listening to your podcast. It truly does help more than you know.
Also, sharing Like Mother Like Murder with your friends and family is huge. Like Mother Like Murder is an independent podcast, and it's entirely produced by Heather Northcraft and myself, Rachel Holloway, including all of the research, editing, recording, and hosting. All of our episodes are available for free wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube.
And if you ever want to find a way to support the show and the hosts, ratings and reviews are definitely our favorite. But we also have a merch shop with shirts, cups, bags, and much more that you can find on our website, likemotherlikemurder.com.
And if you want to support us, there will be a link that is newly available that you can find in today's show notes, where you can donate any amount to the show to help us with cost of production and help us attend events such as CrimeCon.
We will talk to you all next Tuesday on another episode of Like Mother, Like Murder. Okay, love you, bye!
Okay, love you, bye.